How to unlock wealth with tax liens and deeds. In this video series, I'm going to answer some of the most common tax lien and deed questions so that you can unlock wealth with tax liens and deeds. So one of the first questions that people ask when getting into this business is, how much do I need to get started in order to start buying tax liens and deeds? Now, one of the true beauties of tax lien and deed investing is the fact that it can literally accommodate any budget for any person for the most part. Like, I don't know of any other real estate investment where you can get started for literally like 20 bucks. You can buy a tax lien for $20 that could pay 18 to 36%. Or you can, this is hard to believe, but you can buy pieces of land sometimes for as little as like $50. In fact, I've purchased land in my career for as little as 50 bucks. One time back, this is probably like 20 years ago, I bought a lot for 50 bucks and it was in a small town in Minnesota. And what ended up happening is we were doing a cross country tour. And that night we had a tent in the back and we stopped on our little lot that we bought for 50 bucks. Because it was in town, we set up our tent, went to sleep, and then we woke up in the morning and the cops were like, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't camp in town." And then we're like, "Well, actually, like, we own this property." And the cops, we showed them the deed and the tent, and they called the county office, and then they came back and they said, "Well, you own the property, so I guess you can camp here, but we don't recommend it." So, I've straight up camped on property that I've bought for as little as 50 bucks. Now you can spend as much as you want. There are sometimes golf courses or, commercial buildings that go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. This truly is one of the best businesses to get into to build your wealth because of the low entry, like the low barrier to entry in this business. So, there's 3,300 counties in the US, half tax lien, half tax deeds. So as far as how much you have to get into it, anybody could start today within the next couple hours. Now, obviously, the more money you have, the faster it can go. But I don't know of any other real estate business where you can start literally with 20 to 50 bucks and call yourself a real estate investor by the end of the day. So thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in here today. If you haven't yet, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. It helps you see these videos when they come out, so that you don't miss out. And if you're new to the channel, well, I try to give away a lot of stuff as well. So I'm doing a series. I have this book called 100 Tax Lien and Deed Facts You Must Know. So in this video series, I'm going to go through these questions and answer them for you. You can get this book below for free in the comments. I have a whole mini course for anybody wanting to get started with tax liens and deeds, the ABCs. I used to sell this stuff, and now I just give it away to try to help as many people as possible get into this business. So that's the answer there as far as like how much money you need to get started. That is the beautiful thing about this business. And I highly recommend getting into it because wholesaling is also a great business, but it's definitely much more competitive. And we're shifting a lot of our efforts into tax liens and deeds. And I recommend you do the same. Now, another question that came up here is, someone says, if I've had a major the question here is, I've had major setbacks and I still have funds left over. How can I get started from home because I can't travel? So to summarize that question is, how do you do this business from home without traveling? So there's several ways to do it. Now, obviously with tax liens, they're very, very low risk. Like 95% of tax lien certificates redeem. And you can do most of your research through things like Zillow, Landglide, even PropStream, and the county record. And you don't physically need, in my opinion, like if the tax liens are in your city, by all means, go drive by, go look at them. But to be fair, 95% of the time, tax liens redeem. All right. So that's why they're safe, secure, predictable, and they are secured by real estate. So with the tax liens, they're very, very easy to do from home. You just need to learn how to do the county research. All right. So that is pretty straightforward. And remember this, 1 in 20 of your tax liens, they won't redeem. So you're going to end up with that property, which is freaking awesome, which means you could go and buy 20 tax liens on, depending on your budget, say they're, $50 each on property that's worth, 5,000 bucks. And within 2 years, you're going to end up with a property worth around $5,000 literally for a very small amount. So that's what I love about it. Now, when it comes to the deeds, this one is a little trickier to do from the comfort of home because it's always important to go and look at the tax deed in person, because the images on Google Earth sometimes can be old, right? So if you can't do that, you can do companies like wegolook.com, or if you know somebody who lives in that area, they can go by. Or you can literally hire like an Uber driver, or put an ad in the paper and pay somebody like, $50 for the day to go and take pictures of the properties at the tax deed sale that are coming up. Now, a key point here to keep in mind is I always like to get 2 sets of pictures of the properties just to compare them and make sure they line up. So that is always important, because with the deeds, you do want to see those properties. And remember, with the deeds, always do your bidding based on the budget of like a full rehab. Okay. So these days, for the most part, a rehab could be 65 to 70 bucks per square foot for a total rehab. This is the thing, needs a total renovation. So 65, 70 bucks a square foot. So if it's 1,000 square feet, you're going to be bidding or budgeting in around, $65 to $70,000 for that rehab on that property. So we got some questions here in the comments. Let's go into these right now. Material question: which county would be the best for tax liens? Let's say, 3 or 4 for tax deeds. Well, it depends where you are, right? So which county would be the best? Ideally, the best county is going to be the closest one to you out of the gate. So if you want to do tax deeds and you don't live in a tax deed state, then you're going to have to go find that. So the question here, though, is for Miami. So remember, when it comes to tax liens and tax deeds, Florida is one of the most, it's a very unique state, because Florida does tax liens and tax deeds. So one of the big perks of buying a tax lien is when it doesn't redeem, you can foreclose and get the property. Now, that's pretty much everywhere but Florida. So in Florida, if the tax lien doesn't redeem, then basically it goes over to a tax deed sale. So Florida, definitely Miami is going to be a bit more competitive as far as that goes. So that being said, find out when the deed sale is and go to it. So like if Miami is your backyard, then make sure to know when that auction is and go to it. Like if the sale's happening, go to that auction, get familiar with it. Because the thing about tax lien and deed investing is it's not a matter of if you're going to get a great deal. It's always a matter of when. So basically just be consistent with it. So find all the deed sales if you're in Miami within a 1 to 2 hour drive, find out where they are and start researching, start looking at the inventory that has basically come up in the previous sales. And that's going to give you an indication of what's happening there. So good question. Looks like several people are joining here. Thanks a lot, everybody. For everybody joining, I'm going through questions. I'm also going through the questions of the 100 tax lien and deed facts. So this is below. I tried to compile the most of them. So I'm doing this series here to help answer some of those questions. Let's see. Someone's question here is, I want to jump in. I'm just nervous. I know I shouldn't be. So when you're getting into this, you're going to be nervous. That's the nature of the beast. This is uncertain, right? You haven't done it before. It's the same way when you do anything new. You're going to be nervous. And the nice thing about this business is the fact that you can get started with very low risk, right? You can start 20, 50, 100, 500 bucks and get the experience. And that's why I recommend everybody go out and buy a, $20 or $50 tax lien. Even if it's not a very good one or a low interest rate, it's like a practice ground, because the principles that you will use when buying a cheap tax lien will be the same principles that you'll apply to bigger tax liens and tax deeds. So it's a really good training ground to be able to practice. And remember, you're going to be nervous, right? This business is not very well known, and it's never going to be, which is good. And it's going to be scary. So go to an auction and just listen, do a pretend auction, find the list, see what you'd be interested in. and then go, but don't buy. That's how you're going to acclimate to this. Like with this business, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, everything in life that we do, we build up and we practice. Whereas with real estate, I think it's probably because of like a lot of YouTube videos and you only ever hear of like the big wins because they're fun to talk about. So there's a lot of pressure on folks to just go out and think they're going to, if they don't get that home run at their first sale, then, they're a failure. But take it slow, practice. Let's see. Do you know about redeemable tax deed auctions? So good question there. So you have places like Texas and Georgia are redeemable tax deed auctions. So basically they have, and it's called a hybrid state, redeemable tax deeds. So, and this is why this business is good, is because it can be a bit confusing. So think of it this way. 80% of the states, classic, either tax lien or tax deed. They're doing one or the other. And then there's special Florida, who does tax liens and tax deeds, both of them. Then you have places like Texas and Georgia, and California as well is actually a redeemable deed where they have up to a year to redeem you. But in a redeemable deed state like Texas, basically you buy the property, you buy the deed, you own it that day. However, you can't sell it for 6 months. Now, if there's a renter in that property, you can go ahead, you can collect rent. If the property's vacant, you can put a renter in it, you can do stuff to it. You just can't sell it for that amount of time. Now, most of the time, these properties are not going to redeem in those places. So even though it is a penalty of like 25%, most of the time you're going to get the property. Let's see here. How high do some tax auctions go? Full price. So, you're going to go to some auctions where things are getting bid up. That's just the nature of the beast. So don't blanket statement like, oh, if you go to one auction and things get bid up and out of control, that's just one auction. So look into the history of that auction. Does it have a history of things being bid up all the time? Then just don't go there, right? There's 3,300 of these counties here. So for those of you guys just joining, we're going through this stuff. These books are available below in the description for free. Like, it is a complete mini course that walks you through it. So it's down in the description. Like, I've literally sold thousands of copies of these and I just give it away now to help everybody get started. And they're on-demand DVD trainings that are in there as well. So go check that out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, would love to hear from you. Wicked questions, guys. I appreciate all these questions coming in. And yeah, this is awesome. So let me see here. If I want to use liens solely for gaining interest, what happens if the lien isn't redeemed? So yeah, back to it. This is one of the beauties of tax liens, is the fact that if the lien doesn't redeem, then you get the property. So the thing that makes tax liens safe, secure, and predictable is that 97% of the time, that tax lien is going to redeem, because banks are the largest redeemer of tax liens. Because remember, the tax lien is the priority lien. And from there, when they foreclose, they wipe out the mortgage. So with that, they notify the mortgage company. And then the mortgage company is often the largest redeemer of these tax liens. So that's why they're safe. However, if there is no mortgage and the mortgage company has been notified and you foreclose, meaning that the homeowner doesn't pay you back, then you get that house. And that's truly how you get these home runs. Remember, about 1 in 20 liens are going to get you in that situation. So that's why it's absolutely awesome. Let's see here. Another question. You can send affidavits to end the redemption period. So sending an affidavit to end the redemption period depends obviously on the lien, what the tenure of that lien is, how far into it is. So for example, like if you buy a lien over the counter and it's already expired, then you can go ahead and expedite that process. So there are definitely liens right now that are sitting on over the counter, and you can literally go and buy them and start foreclosing. Now, that is definitely a tactic. And if you're in a place where there's, say, like a penalty state, because remember with the liens, the interest a lot of the time is accruing, but other certain places, what you can do is, like, for example, in Florida, if you bid 0%, you're going to get an automatic penalty of 5%. So, like, for example, what you could do is bid 0, you have a guaranteed 5, and if it's a $100,000 house with a, $2,000 lien, what you could do is send the bank a message saying, hey, I'm going to foreclose on this if you don't take action, and force them to go quicker. So, yeah, wicked stuff, guys. Good questions. Really appreciate everybody hopping on here today. And I'm going to continue to do this series of just answering questions, going live. I literally have the 100 tax lien and deed facts that I'm going to go through, but also your questions that are coming up here in the comments will get top priority because you're here now, and I want to make sure everybody gets a handle on this business. And like I was saying before, you're going to be nervous. Like, this stuff is new. It's going to be uncertain. The first few times you do it, it's going to be, you'll be like, oh, did I do it right? Did I check everything? And don't wait until you have all the information. Like, go do it and get that real world feedback. Start small and work your way up. So if you guys want some help with that, there's a link below in the comments. You can book a one-on-one session with us, and we'll actually help build you a custom investment plan to be able to do this. We'll save you a bunch of trial and error, and we'll tell you exactly where to go, what to do, and how to do it, save you some time. So there's a link below, and anybody who books a call gets the free stuff that I give away. It is there. There's no upsells, nothing. It's totally free. The link is below, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure to go ahead and do that. So for everybody who tuned in live, I really appreciate all of the questions. We're going to keep this train going, and we'll catch everybody on the next one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.